Hello, this is Selecting in Photoshop number 2, covering the Lasso tools. The Lasso tool can be used for a loose general selection or very precise selection, and we'll use it to make an accurate selection around this leaf. Firstly, we want to enlarge the image to 100% to give us the best view, so double click on the zoom tool will take the image to its 100% size, and by holding down the space bar we get the hand tool, and so we can move the image around. Now we select the Lasso tool from the toolbox, which is the top one of the 3 in this group, this one here. I'll start in this corner and work my way around. Whether you're using a mouse or a pen and tablet, matter of taste, although the pen and tablet can give you a more accurate line. If you need to move your hand, then hold down the Alt key, and then you can change your hand position without losing your place. We have to do this by keeping the cursor pressed all the time. If we let go by mistake, the start and the end join up together, which we don't want. Carrying on. Using the Lasso tool freehand like this is best on subjects with small fiddly bits. If the subject has straight lines and smooth curves, there are other selection tools which are better. Now I've jumped ahead and got up to this corner. Now if you do release the mouse by mistake and the ends join up, it's not a complete disaster. You don't have to start again from scratch, because you can hold down the Shift key and add extra bits to that selection. If I hold down the Shift key, the Lasso has a little plus sign beside it, so I can carry on selecting and go around this extra corner, and then I can add bits to what I've selected already. Go over here and you see how it's added that new piece to what it was selected earlier, and we can carry on around like that. If you need to take something out, say I've selected too much there, hold down the Alt key and go round the bad bit, the unwanted piece, and see that gets removed from the selection. So here is our finished selection with the marching ants going all around the leaf. There's a little bit here we want to take out, so I'll hold down the Alt key and go round this part, which will remove it from the overall selection. There we are, so that piece won't be selected as we copy the leaf. Now don't worry too much about little bits where the selection isn't perfect, because there is a way of retouching this selection with the quick mask mode, which we'll do now. Now we'll use quick mask mode to tidy up some of the edges. We'll enlarge it 100%. Double clicking on the zoom tool and move it around, and we'll make it even bigger actually with Control with the equal sign or Command with the equal sign to move it up one stage. So now we're 200% in size, and we can see some of the errors here in the selection. So click once on the quick mask symbol, which is at the bottom of the toolbox, and that puts a mask over our selected area. Well, the mask is red at the moment, which isn't helpful over a red subject, so we want to change that. Double click on the quick mask symbol, bring up this box and click on the color square, and now we can change the color to a blue. I think that's okay. We also have a choice whether the mask is over the selected area or outside the selected area. I'll leave it on selected areas here. OK, click once on the mask. Now it's blue and it's much easier to see it rather than the red on a red subject. Now we want the brush tool, and we'll have 100% brush, as at the moment we haven't got a feather on our selection, so we'll start off with 100% hardness, and we paint out the areas we don't want, like this dark blue here up to the edge. There's another dark blue here. This area we need a bit more, so press the X key to swap to a black brush, and that will paint in the mask. And another bit here and there. We've got, oh, and there's a bit here, yes. Dark blue there we don't want on this side. There. Have a smaller brush here. Press X again to paint in the mask on this area. And round at the top. And we can go around the whole leaf like that, just making these little corrections. When we've done the whole leaf, click once on the quick mask mode symbol, and that gives us our selection again. Oh, well, I've missed a bit. Get rid of that. I'm not going over the whole leaf, but you get the idea. Press again. There we have our better selection. Press Control 0 or Command 0 to see the whole thing. You can see how the overall selection looks. For now, there's our leaf, and we want to probably give that a feather as we've done in the past. So we go to Select, Modify, Feather, and, well, 1 or 2 depending on the resolution of the image. In this case I'll give it 1, and we put it on the new layer, which is Control J or Command J, and there in the layers palette we see our leaf selected. We'll have a closer look at the quick mask mode because it can be very useful when doing selections. I'm going to start off by doing a loose selection with the Lasso tool around this fish. There we are. Now I'm going to go into quick mask mode. The shortcut for this is the letter Q, so just by pressing Q get the mask up. Now that's red again, that's not much use here, so we double click on the quick mask mode symbol and we'll change the color to blue again, dark blue. OK, and also I'm going to use masked areas. Alright, press Q, and that gives us a mask over the unwanted areas. Now I'm going to select the fish more accurately with the brush. We'll take it up to 100% in size. I will click there, move it around. Now the brush tool will have 100% hardness now, and we'll put a feather on it later. Now we use the brush to select the fish. Reduce the size of the brush with the square brackets, the left hand square brackets. Go into the corners, smaller still to get into that little corner, and the right hand square bracket to enlarge the brush. All the way around like this. The brush can be a bit bigger here. Brushing it along, and I'm going to go around the whole fish like this. It doesn't take too long once you get the hang of it. So jumping ahead, just finishing off the last bit of the mask. Reduce it to normal size. Now if we press Q again, we go back to our marching ants selection, and there we have our little fish selected. So that's largely done with the quick mask mode and a brush, and we will give that a normal feather with Select, Modify, Feather, 2, OK, Control J or Command J, put it on a new layer. There it is, ready to go on another background or whatever. The next of the lasso tools is the Polygonal Lasso tool. A fancy name, but what it really does is draw straight lines. It's the second in the list here. We select it and you see the cursor is slightly different, and I'm going to select this screen with the view of changing the image. Firstly, I'll enlarge the image to 100% and start in the top left corner. We just click with the cursor And with this tool we don't have to hold the cursor down all the time. Just drag it across, there's our straight line, into the far corner and click there. Then we go down the screen, click around the corner, then over to the left, click there, around the bend, little clicks, and then up to the top. And the end has to be joined up with the beginning. They won't join up on their own the way they will with the standard freehand lasso tool. So there's our selection with its marching ants ready to be feathered and removed. Now I very rarely use this particular lasso tool because the standard freehand tool can be used as a freehand selector and as a polygonal selector. What I mean is it'll do both jobs with the correct keystroke, and this is how it works. I'll use this blank screen as a demonstration. So I select the standard lasso tool, and in fact I'll have a little feather here in the top option bar of 2, so it starts off by giving the selection a feather. So we can use this freehand tool to draw around the squiggly bits, and then holding down the Alt key turns it into a straight line tool. So we can click along straight lines around the subject we're selecting, and any time we release the Alt key and it can go back to selecting details. Press the Alt key again, more straight lines all around our subject. Release the Alt key, there we are doing our squiggly bits. That's all done with the standard freehand tool. It's rare to have to select something which is all straight lines. Usually if there's straight lines in the image, there are going to be a few rounds and a few corners where you need to use the freehand tool. So overall, just using the standard lasso tool is a better option for most subjects. The final tool in the lasso section is the Magnetic Lasso tool. We can choose that by pressing L. L is the keystroke for lasso, so if we press it once, twice, we get to the magnetic tool, and this will find its own path around a subject, but there needs to be reasonable contrast between the two parts of the image. Like here we've got the light green leaf and the darker background, so it's quite a good subject matter for this tool. I'll make the image bigger first, up to 100%. Start in this corner, and we click, and we just don't have to touch the screen. We can just drag the cursor over the image and the cursor will find its own path. It is magnetic in that it snaps up against the edge. If we're away from the subject a little bit like this, you see it still snaps against the subject we want to select, as long as the edge is bright enough. If we go too far out, if I go out here for example, then it gets a bit confused and lost. So we have to go fairly close over the subject all the way around. Goes around the corners well and around the bends. Here we are around the other side. Now this part of the image where there's not so much contrast between the two colours, it'll work, but you have to be more careful where you drag the cursor, otherwise the selection can slip off sideways. See how it has there? There's not enough contrast for it to work properly, so that needs to be fixed afterwards. Well, you have to be more precise here. Right, now we need to go back to beginning. There'll be a little bit of retouching to do to our first click. There we go. Now we need to add these stray elements into the selection. So I'll use the standard lasso tool while holding down the shift key. Going round here, and now we have got our complete selection, and really quite neatly done, I think. So if the conditions are right, with enough contrast between the two objects, the Magnetic Lasso tool can work very well. The next video will be on the magic wand and the quick selection tool.